And I think it's all about your intent. So I had a friend recently who I love her home, what they've done with it. It's one of my favorite, Cherokee Lane. Y'all know where that is? It's one of my, I love, there's like 5 little areas in Covington that I feel like most people don't know exist. And it's my favorite places ever. Well, she lives there and she was looking at a home in downtown Covington. And I said, you don't want to do this. I said, you have such a gorgeous spot. Trust me. I know your kids are young and your husband travels, but you need to stick it out because, and I put it all out. And she goes, you just convinced me to walk away from a $1.5 million because I knew what the long run, where she'd be happy. And that's just genuine and honest. And I think the more we do that for one another, the more we get that back.
Welcome to the In the Arena podcast. My name is Jared Miguez, a co-host on this podcast that brings you the inspiring stories of our clients who are leaders and innovators across different industries in Southeast Louisiana. They are visionary entrepreneurs, savvy real estate professionals, media creators, military business owners, and community champions. And we are going to showcase the remarkable achievements and share their personal stories. Tune in for insightful conversations, valuable lessons, and motivational stories that are going to reveal their secrets to success and offer you insights to help you on your own path. Welcome to In the Arena podcast. So today we have McEnery Residential's Northshore team, or at least most of them here. We got Corynne and Molly. And so I'm going to kind of go through a little bit of their bio just to get some context of where we're going here. So
tell us about them.
Yeah, Molly Koenig, she started in real estate at McEnry and after a career and doing some other things, but just what you've done in the last 4 years in real estate is pretty impressive. Next Level Award with McEnry in 2020, featured on the cover of Sophisticated Women in 2021, featured in We Social Women's in Excellence in 2023, Salesman Award from McEnery Residential in 23, and then 40 Under 40 in 2023. You're also doing a whole bunch of stuff in St. Tammany Parish, which I think is cool, and we'll get into that later, coaching the track team and doing stuff like that, which I know you have a huge background on that, and I'm excited to hear more about that. And then we have Corynne, and we go way back, like we were talking about. She knows more about me than I want other people to know, but we won't get into that
Which
today.
Again, I'm pulling her aside after the show to learn the
That's
details.
the post show.
But you've been doing real estate for 3 years. You were on a big team on the, or a smaller brokerage on the South Shore, and now you're on the North Shore team at McEnry. But what's cool about your career is that 2 things. In 3 years, your listing price is impressive for somebody who's new in the business, right? Most agents start out, doing more smaller
Just the
deals.
deal in front of them.
Yeah, to get stuff done. And for you to be focused and have a list price of north of $700,000 is pretty impressive.
Well, average deals, because even finding buyers, like buyers or sellers who can handle that, that's way higher than our average sales price.
Oh, yeah. Twice. And then, but your experience in title, which I'm thankful you're not doing that anymore. But your experience in title, I'm sure, has made a huge impact. So y'all both have a great backgrounds in business. So why don't we start with Molly, and you tell us a little bit about what you did to get into your real estate career?
So I've always been in sales and marketing. It's just a passion of mine to be out in the community, forming relationships, meeting people. And I'm motivated by commission and by sales and by, never having an endpoint. But it wasn't until my partner, Margot Rainold, moved to the Northshore. She and I were college roommates and have been good friends, but she moved here and she was she's been a designer and a real estate agent for 12 years now. And when she moved here, she was looking to decide where she was going to take her career, who she was going to partner with. And I sat at her house one night and heard her speak about McEnery Residential. And I honestly had never considered real estate ever. I've always loved real estate. I've built a home. I've bought and sold homes personally. Who doesn't love going into beautiful homes and real estate? Yeah. But I never considered a career in real estate until I heard her passion, and specifically for McEnry. So I have been in corporate America in a sales role, but I wasn't looking to get back into a corporate position. I love flexibility, again, where there's no limit to what you can achieve. And to hear her talk about this boutique brokerage that was all about service to the client. And again, the sky's the limit on what we could offer and what we could do. And then the type of agents that work there that have backgrounds as attorneys, as CPAs, these professionals that have chosen to change their career to real estate because of the flexibility, how lucrative it could be. And I sat and listened, trying to be a good friend, trying to hold my excitement in, going, okay, this is, because little did she know I was looking for something. I was looking for my next challenge.
Little did she know she was evangelizing.
Yes. So I'm going,
and found a convert.
yes, I'm going, be a good friend, listen to what she has to say.
Was about her.
And the whole time I'm going, this is it. This is it. It's like she's laying out the path for where I need to be next. And she never once said, I'm looking for a partner.
Yeah.
So the next day I called her and I said, look, I would love to sit down and take you to lunch. I'd like to talk to you a little bit more about this. And she said, why are you being so weird? What do you mean? Just tell me what you want to say. I'm like, I want to be your partner. She goes, done. You're it. Let's do it. Let's do this together. So it was really an organic, I mean, it's nothing. It's not the path I thought I would take, but now I can't see myself doing anything else.
It's interesting that you said that, because me and John, my partner, have a similar story. It was like we ran into each other randomly at a networking event, and 6 months later, we're partners and we've been doing business together since. It was just like, it's hard to bring on partners in business in general.
Yeah.
And to have a foundation and know that you have similar values and experiences and that you're going to work well together, and it just clicks, right?
Yeah.
There's the whole dating experience for some people where you got to really get to know the person to make sure that that's truly, but when you come from a background of knowing somebody for so long and the type of person they are, and the fact that it works, it makes business so much more fun. I don't like doing things alone. I love having partners to do it with.
Especially living with somebody. I think that's the best way to get to know someone.
No doubt. Yeah, me and John haven't done that yet, and we never will. But but I totally get that.
Sorry to your spouses.
You definitely learn about somebody whenever you live with them. That is a fact.
Yeah.
So I love that. I love how, and I've got partners that I have different portfolios with, and I love that, because I even have a similar experience where it was like, hold that thought. Let's change the direction of this conversation. Now that you're saying that, I have another thought we should talk about.
Yeah.
Right.
And so I love that. I think that's excellent. That it sounded like, it reminds me of the book The Alchemist. It's like that the world conspired to get you on that path, right?
Absolutely.
So I love that.
And I love that she didn't think she was selling you on it.
Right.
Like, she
It
wasn't
was
trying
all
to do a
about her.
sales pitch. She was just naturally excited. And you're like,
Exactly.
okay.
Right.
Yeah, which that says a lot about McEnery. So tell us more about the firm, because it sounds like it attracts people that fit a certain mold, right? Because
What attracted you there?
well, that was the next question, because it kind of all pivots and goes into the same answer. Because I know that we've talked about this too.
Yeah.
I want to hear Molly's answer first, and then I want to hear Corynne's, because I know that your agents don't dress like you guys dress generally. They don't act the way that you guys act, and y'all are targeting a certain client. So tell me about McEnery Residential.
So if you walk into their home office on Magazine Street, it's a big, gorgeous home. It's not. There's not one cubicle. There's nothing corporate about it. It's somewhere you could see spending a lot of time. It's like here as well. You just walk in and you feel at home.
Yeah.
Everyone from our broker, our managers, managing partners, they're just impressive to be around. You want to gather anything you can from them.
Absorb
it
every
all.
word that comes out.
Everything.
So it sounds
they
like a
say.
standard.
Yeah.
There's a level
Yes.
of a standard. Yeah.
It's you walk in a room with them and you feel honored to be in there. They're professional, but they're down to earth. It feels like a family, and they're there to help you succeed. It's not this hierarchy or you have to achieve X, Y, and Z. It's how are we going to grab market share together? And how can we all be good at this and all be successful?
Yeah.
And I'll let Corynne speak, but when she walked in the door, it was like immediately, well, first of all, we were dressed identically.
Yeah.
We had
It
on
was
the exact.
so funny. She walked in for us to meet at the
Happens to
same
me all the
time.
time.
And we were like, well, clearly we're similar, but
After
just-
I forced myself into this.
and I'll let her tell that, but immediately we were like, just hearing her speak and knowing her personality. And we all are the same in terms of wanting to help others, truly wanting to get to know people and have lasting relationships.
Yeah.
So all of that. The biggest thing for me was, and there's nothing wrong with corporate America. I've just been there, been in a cubicle. I was not wanting to go back to that.
You guys know Chris Voss and like Jocko Willink. They're pretty big thought leaders. They have a word that said, they had a quote that said, intent has a smell. The intent of a place has like a smell, and you can kind of like feel it. When something's like super transactional and corporate-y, you can tell from a mile. You can smell it from a mile away, right?
Yeah.
So it sounds like it was, okay, I have found my place. I can breathe. This place smells like home, smells like what I want to be doing.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So so Corynne, so you transitioned from a boutique firm in the city. I know you had a great experience at that firm, but when you moved to the Northshore, how did you what drew you to McEnry?
So I used to teach. I was a teacher for 8 years at St. Dominic in Lakeview, and I lived there for 10 years. So my
What did you
life
teach?
was, I taught pre-K and then first grade.
Bless you.
Yeah.
God
And then I
bless you.
had young kids and I was like, okay, we're done. But, the patience level was gone. So I did a stay-at-home mom thing for about 7 months. So much respect for that because after 7 months, I was just done. I was like, I need adult interaction. I need something that's my own that I can be proud,
The
just-
skill sets transfer over though, right?
Exactly. So I was home, and then my neighbor and my best friend at the time was going to be on maternity leave from her marketing job at a title company. She's like, just, cover my maternity leave, see if you like it, just kind of get your feet wet. If you don't like it after 3 or 4 months, you can just go back to being home and, no harm, no foul. So I was like, okay, I'll give it a try. And I became obsessed with it. Like, just working the open houses, being around those kind of people. I loved it because I was able to see all the different brokerages, which every brokerage is so unique. Like it has its pros, its cons, its type of people, its clientele. Like everyone just kind of has its niche. So I was able to see all of them. And I loved the brokerage where I was. It was very boutique. It was a lot in Lakeview, a lot in McEnery. And I just felt comfortable. I knew a lot of the agents there. So when I got my license, I decided to go with them and loved it. The brokers were amazing. But after 2 years there, 2.5, we decided to move to the Northshore. Made the big jump across the pond. And my husband's from here and I'm from Slidell. So we made the move across.
I love how we're not calling Slidell North Shore.
Yeah. You know what? I'm
like,
loud and proud.
Born and raised, and I'm like, I'm from the North Shore.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yes.
Okay.
Technically,
Yeah.
I
I'm not
think
arguing with you.
Covington. I don't know. And
I say it's all.
It's the
Well,
North Shore,
so
but
it's the North Shore of the lake.
Yes,
Right.
correct.
Not
But
that
it's-
I'm great at geography,
so to be
but
fair,
but
it's
I
all
mean,
St. Tammany
Hammond
Parish.
is north of the lake, but not the North Shore.
It's
Really?
Slidell's really to the east of the
Yeah,
lake.
you're
It's to the
right.
east of the lake.
It's not
No,
really
no.
even that close to
They're-
the lake.
But I think so. I did have someone call in on the radio who was like, "I'm on the North Shore," and she was in Gulfport, Mississippi, and
okay,
we had
that's an
every.
interesting spin.
We literally had the producer in our ears being like, "You should see the text thread of like the live calling."
What shore was she referring to?
They're like, "Y'all are being so nice. Just tell the woman she is wrong and move on." But nonetheless, so Slidell.
Yeah. So
We digress.
So after having 3 young kids, we decided to move over here. And I always had my eye on McEnery. Like when I was in New Orleans, they had this standard. It was their marketing. It was, their logos, just the way that the agents presented themselves at the open houses. It was comfortable, but classy. And I loved everything about
attracted to
it.
it.
Which is,
Very
that's
attractive.
What a great tagline.
Look, and that's
Comfortable
not
but classy.
that's not an easy thing
That's
for
going on
you
another
to.
post.
That's about to say, that's not easy for you to create as a brand.
Right,
I was looking at the logo too whenever we were just emailing about the podcast, and it was definitely stands out. I love the crown. I love the way that they designed
It's
it. They did a
sleek.
really good job.
Yeah. It's sleek, but it stands out,
Yeah.
So I would just
So-
always kind of, like I said, had my eye on it. But again, loved the brokerage where I was. It was very small and was great for what I was doing at the time. But then when we moved across, I decided some of my business was still in New Orleans and some was over here. Like I have a lot of listings over there with clients that are buying over here. So I kind of wanted my foot on both sides.
Yeah. That's fair.
And that's when McEnery kind of popped up again. And my kids go to school in downtown Covington. And I would always ride past the office and I'm like, one day I'm going to work up the courage to just go in there, just go in, say hi and see what it's about. Like see if in person, if it feels the same as it does on paper, So I emailed them, cold call, and I was like, hi, I'm Corynne, and just kind of rattled off, like where we were in the community, we were moving to. I said, I'd love an opportunity to just talk to y'all. And I sent it to y'all because again, I didn't know if this office was separate from New Orleans. I didn't know who to reach out to. They were like, let's meet. And so I walked in and like I said, it was the second I walked
Love
in.
at first sight.
And we sat there for like 2 hours and we're like, okay, we're going to get into this neighborhood and we want a listing here. And then we're going to also expand to Mandeville. And then the broker was like, okay, let's wait a second. We didn't even give her an offer
didn't
yet.
give you an offer.
Like we had all these business plans.
were
And he's like,
positive.
technically you're not part of our brokerage. I was like, oh, you're right. So it just, again, it felt natural, but classy. It felt like where I needed to be. So
Well, so ultimately, there is a level in which it sounds like you guys have a lot of strategy type of plan. Talk to me about do you have a niche that you work within? Like, what does that look like? What does your ideal client look like?
So for me personally, a lot of agents will say they love the listing because that's just kind of where the business is heading. And it is, a job where you list the house and it's very calculated. It's very routine
Sure.
almost. I mean, there are some instances where it's not, but for me, I love working with buyers. I love working with first-time home buyers, or honestly, like out-of-town home buyers. I feel like
out of town, like South Shore, out of town.
like if they live on the North Shore. But no, I've had like my last couple deals have been like one's in Charleston right now, one's in California, one was moving from Memphis. So I feel like I have a lot of these. It's forming that trust, and then they've bought sight unseen. Like I just FaceTime them from the houses.
Sure. You're introducing them to the area.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I'll drive around and I'll video, this is Lakeview and this is where you go. Or I'll film Covington. I'm like, this is Covington. So it's a lot of work, but I feel like they benefit from that. And again, I love having that trust. And I love, it almost incorporates like my teaching side where I get to still have that. I teach them about the areas, or I teach them about the whole process, like the first time home buyers. So I'd say that's kind of my niche business.
So,
Are we not recording?
Oh, I wasn't even paying attention. It's in my
the whole time I'm thinking like that's not gonna
slowly
yeah.
I was not even paying attention.
No, it's all good.
Could you hear me the whole time? And start over.
No, we're good.
It'll be able to hear you.
That's
I'm gonna make it the German.
Gluten.
Okay.
So excellent.
We'll
Could you just feel it from the other side of the room, like something?
I didn't know whether to hit
I'm
him
like, that
or
is
that he was doing it for her. No, I was
impressive.
kidding.
He's that good.
We're good to go.
Telepathic.
Hey, Jonah.
Okay.
So I'm gonna carry on here.
Yeah, go.
So I hear that you love working. So first time home buyers, and then those are for a lot of times it's not just first time home buyers, but also first time in the area, and so that's a whole different process, a whole different. I mean, it's kind of like playing tour guide, right? Like, you guys ever have people come in town and they're like, I want to go to New Orleans. Like, where should we do? And so sometimes you build out, you either tell them to go places or you carve out time in your calendar and you're like, take them to a handful of places, right? And over the years, I've loved that because, well, you find the places you love introducing people, right? Like, I always love getting someone a drink at the Hotel Monteleone and be like, let's also spin you. Like, let's fit you at the carousel bar, right?
Yeah.
Like all those little fun things. And so what is something that you love on the North Shore that you love introducing people to? Is there anything like that comes to mind?
Honestly, okay, so growing up again from Slidell, I didn't we would come visit family that lived here. And I feel like when I was growing up, Mandeville and Covington were just not what it is now. And so when my husband first pitched the idea of moving over here, again, we lived in Lakeview where we walked to my daughter's dance school, we walked her to school, we walked to the grocery.
You walk to work.
I walked to work. Like everything was in a 5-block radius.
Sure.
And I was kicking and screaming, giving that up. I'm like, I would never leave. And then for a few weekends, we would come and we'd visit here, and we went to like the Southern Hotel for a drink. We'd go eat at Tavi. We'd go eat all the local places down here in downtown Covington and walk to each place. And I'm like, okay, I can get behind this.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so much more than what it was 10, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So I feel like you can't go wrong with anything there. Personally, the beer garden, because children are allowed. And
It's a pretty great place.
You can drink and bring your kids.
Bring your kids. Yeah.
You can also
and then
even bring Jared.
Yeah, you were too.
bring your children.
So tell me about. Who's your ideal client? And I'm asking this, and we network in a lot of similar circles, and the St. Peter's community is a big part of my life, and I'm y'all's too. So who's your ideal client?
My ideal client is usually somebody who is looking for their next best move, they're a little bit more established in their career. Their kids are maybe, they know where they're going to be going to high school, and they know where they're going to, what area of the community they want to be established in.
Mhm.
And finding them the next best thing, I just love. I think that is so much fun. They're just so motivated and so excited about that. They've worked so hard to get there.
Mhm.
And then my second would be working with my friends' parents and helping them downsize and get rid of a mortgage, and watching that just full circle where I used to be partying at your house in high school, and now I'm helping you get rid of this home.
Yeah.
And the memories there, and so both kind of twofold there.
Yeah, and that is a niche that most people don't realize is a thing, especially right now in this community, because there's so many places for you to downsize. Right, you go to Terabella or the Villages, or even other houses in the same neighborhood you
Different
have.
condo complexes,
Exactly.
various townhouse developments, various
There's
things.
so much money and there's so much affluence in St. Tammany Parish that you have such an opportunity to help people do that. I think that's a huge opportunity people don't realize.
Yeah.
And they appreciate business professionals that show up that dress and act the way that you guys do. A younger crowd, and I've learned this, it depends on who you're doing closings for with kind of the vibe that they kind of expect to walk into. You have older people who walk into their law firm and expect their lawyers to be in a suit and tie.
Right.
You don't get that very much when you come here because we network with people who are a little bit younger. But in some instances, we will put on a jacket and we'll meet with somebody in a different light. And I feel like that group of people really would relate well to the way that y'all, McEnry in itself carries itself.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
No, those are all those are all things that at the end of the day, it's who you attract,
Mm-hmm.
right? Everyone has a different ideal client situation. And so I love those things. So talk to me about ultimately, what is on a day-to-day basis, what are some of the things that you do repeatedly to find the success that you do? Like, what do you think, like on a day-to-day, like a lot of people don't realize what our days are made of to
Mhm.
kind of get the results we want. So what does that look like for you?
For me, it comes natural because it's just relationships. Anywhere I am, I'm speaking to people. I'm at the gym, I'm talking to you.
Yeah.
And it's not me talking, I'll start the conversation, but it's truly listening.
Mhm. That's huge.
Where are they in their life?
Yeah.
What's going on and being genuine about it. If you truly care about somebody and listen,
Yeah.
a need will arise at some point, whether it's them or their best friend or their family member. And if you're constantly energetic and positive and genuinely asking about them and their lives, that's going to happen at some point. It may be 3 years from now. It may be
Right.
6 months from now, but that's fun to me.
Mhm.
And even if it comes from nothing, I truly believe that doing good and being good to others, you attract good back.
So
100%.
I love that. So I know that we're just getting really to know each other. That's a huge part of my ethos with business. There's a fantastic book called The Go-Giver. It's super small. It's like 100 pages. It's written in a story format, but it's about the 5 laws of stratospheric success, and it's all centered around. I've read it 20 plus times, and because it very much encompasses a lot of what I believe, where it says, you're valued in the marketplace. Basically, if you want to have more success, you have to help more people.
Mhm.
And a huge part of that, one of the other laws is your value is directly tied to, it's how many people do you help, but you give more than you receive.
100%.
And that's a huge part of that with the relationships, wanting to help people. And Zig Ziglar said it best: you can have everything you want in life if you help enough people get what they want.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so I love that because I'll just say it's my type of people, right? I just love that. And,
Yeah.
and that's what people need, right? Whether
And I think it's all about your intent. So I had
yeah,
a friend
that's huge.
recently who I love her home, what they've done with it. It's one of my favorite, Cherokee Lane. Y'all know where that is? It's one of my, I love, there's
Yep.
5 little areas in Covington that I feel like most people don't know exist. And it's my favorite places ever. Well, she lives there and she was looking at a home in downtown Covington. And I said, you don't want to do this. I said, you have such a gorgeous spot. Trust me. I know your kids are young and your husband travels,
Right.
but you need to stick it out because, and I put it all out and she goes, you just convinced me to walk away from a $1.5 million because I knew
Yeah.
what the long run, where she'd be happy.
Right.
And that's just genuine and honest. And I
Well-
think the more we do that for one another, the more we
Yeah.
get that back.
You're not being transactional, you're being relational.
Mhm.
And a huge part of that is we're growing into a phase of business where it's not just do what you say you're going to do. Like, you come to me to list your house, I'll do it. But it's doing what's in their best interest. And that's what I love. That's what you did. You did what was in their best interest, saying, hey,
Right.
look, let's pump the brakes. Let's talk through it. So I love that you do that because not everyone does that. A lot of people are, they have that commission breath, right? Where they're just chasing,
Mhm.
or just the business. Let me just get the transaction. Let me do this. I'm not actually listening to what you're saying, or I'm not actually going to be here to say, let me put my needs and wants and desires aside. And how can I help you? So I love that. But you also have me very interested. Where are the other 4 places on the North Shore in Covington, right?
So Riverside Drive,
Okay.
you know where that is?
Yep.
Off of 190 behind Popeyes.
Yes.
It's a little
Yeah.
hidden gem.
Mhm.
Yeah.
One of my favorite.
So you had
streets.
Cherokee Lane.
Cherokee Lane, Riverside Drive, Cleveland.
Okay.
I've heard of that.
Cleveland, is that over there by the Walmart? Off of
By,
190?
by McEnery and West 11th.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
Most people don't even know if you say that, they don't even know where to go. They don't even know where those. So I love, there's a few of those little hidden gems that
Yeah.
I'm like, they just get me excited to go look at houses around there.
So there's 2 more.
I'll put
You
it-
remember?
Well, I mean, I'm biased because Military Road is
was
where I
gonna say, I
live.
knew
Yeah,
you were
Clay
gonna
was
say
telling me
that.
about Military
But
Road the
it's
other
like
day.
I grew up in Magnolia Gardens, and I live on Military Road on the Little Bogafalaya, and my kids can go through the woods across the river to Grandma's house.
Yeah. Yeah. I get
Jeez.
that.
And there's
Like
a
a
lot of
storybook.
properties that back up that way. I'm like, oh my
I love
gosh,
that.
like we will never move because that's so special.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, and that just comes with time, right? Learning those, like there are times on the North Shore, I say that, and I've even had on the South Shore where I'm driving and I'm just like, this is one of my favorite streets. The way the oak trees encompass it, or the way that this, or the way that,
Mhm.
yeah, I love those things.
So there's a few things you said that I want to hit on. So there's an idea in the book Ninja Selling. Have y'all heard of the book Ninja
Yes, I
Selling?
read that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a phenomenal book, and there's ways of doing business and sales. You can be by the numbers, where you're always like accuracy by volume. How many people can I stand out front of Walmart and say, "Are you looking to buy and sell a house?" Like that's not in my opinion, a fun way of doing business. But if you treat every business, I mean, every client or every person you know or you do business with as a client, you have current clients and then you have active clients. Those people that you're discouraging from buying that house, they're going to be a client for you in 10 years from now, whenever they really do move.
They buy into your model.
Exactly.
Or
with how you
they
treat
have a
them.
friend that they say, look, you can trust her
Exactly.
because she's going to put your interest first.
Yep.
It's not about the income. It's not about,
Yeah.
and then when you look at the numbers, it's about longevity.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have one person that you truly treat well and put their interest first, what does that equate to? Their parents, their best friends,
Yep.
so for me, it's just long term and not one transaction,
Right.
one commission, if you think that way, it would be such a short-lived
Well,
business.
I even do so even on the investing side. So one of my mentors, he tells this to me all the time. So he's in his late 70s, been doing this since the 60s, so 50 plus years as an investor. And he goes, Courtney, the best thing you get out of a transaction is not the house, not the asset, it's the person.
Mm-hmm.
He has 4 families that he did 74 transactions with
Wow.
over the decades.
I believe it though.
Wow.
But how many people
Because
are
their kids and then themselves. Yeah.
all like right their neighbor that hey, I was
Mhm.
someone said, but it's like you have to earn that. That does not just fall into your lap. It is that shift of that mindset of let me get away from being so transactional, where it's just, hey, let me just turn and burn this transaction to the next. But let me listen to the person for me. Let me be genuine. Let me be authentic. And a huge part of that, people do business with people.
Right.
And at the end of the day, there's a lot of people around here. And so it's what you attract, right? And so I'm sure that you get a ton of referrals because of how you do business.
Yeah. Asking those questions, like you said, asking them and looking for opportunities to help. If you think about it that way, the statistics show that everybody knows 4 people that are going to buy a house every year.
Right.
So if you ask them the right questions, not just about them, but about their family, about their job, about what they do for fun, what their goals are, if you ask them those types of questions, they're going to give you insight on them or other people and how you can help them in a real estate situation, or just in general, that'll, again, add enough value to the world that you outweigh the value you're giving, and then it's going to come back to you at some point.
And I think Corynne's this way as well. It's anything. If somebody asks me, well, where did you get your cute top? You can't wait to promote the local boutique that you can't wait to promote the title company we just closed with. You can't wait to, so it's not just what we do. It's just this area in general and promoting great
the
things and great
community.
people and keeping that positivity rolling.
Yeah.
So we asked this question, or I like to ask this question. What legacy do you want to leave when you get done, right? Whether that's with your family, and it can be, I asked this question to somebody earlier today, and his legacy, it didn't have anything to do with his business. It had to do with the family that he wanted to make an impact on. And
Could be the industry.
it could be the industry or even the community that you're in. So, being from the North Shore, what legacy do you want to leave whenever you're done with your long career, even though you've only been doing this for 3 years? What do you think your legacy is going to be? What do you want it to be?
So I think my personal one, like my family life one, and then obviously my career one would be 2 separate things, but I think they kind of go hand in hand. I just want to be remembered as like a genuinely enjoyable person. And I think if you are that, then you leave a good legacy with your business. And I think if you are that, then your children become that and your family becomes that. I want people to just be happy when they're around me. And again, I think that leads to trust, and I think trust leads to a good reputation. And it's just like that genuine aspect. Like when I'm talking to people, I don't lead with, I'm a realtor. I listen to what their wants and their needs are. And then if I feel like it's the right space for me to say, well, I'm a realtor and I can help you, then I do that. But I feel like first and foremost is just my reputation as a human.
Yeah.
And then it kind of trickles down to everything.
The other hats you wear.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The many hats, the manager.
Yeah, there you go.
What about you?
For me, I think it goes hand in hand as well. I hope I am living a life right now in my personal life and career that teaches my children hard work, genuine, helping others, and time freedom. I think
love that
that's
part.
something that we don't, when we raise our children, we want them to be successful, right? We want them to grow up first and foremost happy and healthy, but we want them to be able to have a career for themselves. But we don't always talk about how hard it is to do it all. So you're a doctor, you're an attorney, whatever career path you take, and then you have children and you're trying to juggle it all. And if you're living stressed out and that trickles down to your family, that's not a happy life. So
Right.
I hope I'm leaving a legacy where my kids are watching me day in and day out interact with people, business and personal relationships, and they see that I'm stress-free. Even though it can be stressful and busy, I'm not going to be stressed out. I'm going to wake up every morning grateful. I'm going to manage my time between my family and my career. And I hope that that legacy continues with my children and they can live a life like that as well.
Yeah. So I have a question, and Lauren, my partner, is very passionate about this. So the whole idea of work-life balance,
Mhm.
and as a
You triggered something.
yeah, as a man and as a business owner, this might be maybe politically incorrect, but like the expectation
Where are we
Mhm.
going here?
for me to be available for my children is not
Yeah.
the same for you
Mhm.
guys. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I
And
can
like,
imagine.
as a mom, you have almost like that responsibility of being a mom, being a spouse, being a business person, right? And then also being an individual. Like the work-life balance idea is just totally, it's different for everybody.
Mm.
So like for you guys, whichever one of y'all want to swing at this first, you can. I want to get y'all's opinion on what that means, that work-life balance. And do you feel like it's the same or different for everybody?
We were just talking about this actually
Yeah.
right before we walked up here. I think it depends on where you are in life. Luckily for me, my husband has he's got a lot of time freedom in his career. He's a business owner. And we are pretty 50-50. So we wake up every morning and we're like, what are we doing today? And it looks different every day because we don't have a set schedule. So he doesn't travel a whole lot. So we know in advance when he does travel. But when we're here, you get this kid and go to,
This isn't this.
track here, and I'm going to take this kid here. And then, well, I have a meeting. He just called on the way. Actually, I know I said I was going to get the kids because I coaching a track meet after
Mhm.
this, but I can't because now I have a 4:00 meeting. Okay, plan B. And we just tackle it as we go. So I am very thankful that I am a 50-50 partner with my husband. But he still lets me make the important decisions with my children and lets me wear my mom hat.
That's good.
But I don't think I could really have that balance without his support. In fact, Margot and I call our husbands the M&M, so we're Molly and Margot M&M house husbands, because they are holding down the fort when we are nights and weekends and at our busiest.
Sure.
They don't complain. They're thankful. They're happy that we're successful. They know that they benefit from the success as well.
Yeah.
So we truly have a good, unique situation where we're doing it together as a team.
I love that.
I think I've had to shift my mindset that work life is like a day to day or a week to week thing. And I realized with our job, and I don't know if I speak for you too, but everything kind of goes in phases. So like we'll have a really busy season
Mhm.
where I'll have a couple months where I'm in the middle of like a ton of deals at one time.
Right.
But then it always kind of peaks off at the holidays when the kids are super busy or they're off of school. So I've realized that my work balance is more annual. Like it kind
Yeah.
of shifts and
100%.
ebbs and flows during the year. And when I'm stressed, I just remember I'm like, okay, when you get to the end of these 5 deals,
Yeah.
then you'll have like a tiny little break and then you'll take a deep breath and then you'll do it again. So
and then you'll go on
it's-
vacation and your phone rings off the
Right.
hook.
And then all of a sudden all your listings will go under contract and
Yeah.
it's great. So I think it just it's realizing that my life isn't just, and again, coming from that teacher job where I clocked in, clocked out and didn't work on the weekends, it was
Yeah.
very 9 to 5 routine.
Sure.
And it had its time and place, but I love now having the freedom to pop in for lunch at my kids' school or help out, or which I didn't have before. So I
Right.
like the pros definitely outweigh the cons for me.
Sure.
And I do like this gratitude journal every day.
That's awesome.
And it's helped me realize, like, now I say, oh, I'm so thankful that I have this
Mhm.
file. Oh, I'm so thankful that I get to go to my kids'
Right.
dancing. Like, I'm so grateful that I get to put my kids to sleep tonight,
Right.
or
Yeah.
I get to get them out of bed. So trying to just shift the mindset.
Realizing that it's 3 years in, and I don't know when you made the realization, but realizing that real estate is an annual cycle of when you do business, right?
Right.
Like 20% in the first and fourth quarter, 30 in the 2nd and
Mhm.
third. You're like, you got to be okay and aware of those types of things, generally speaking. And if you can get that way, you don't panic at the
Yeah.
beginning and the end of the year.
Yeah.
You know that it's going to come, and you relax whenever you get that
Sure.
opportunity, and then you build whenever the time comes, and you can run your business that way. But
Well,
you,
there's also market cycles
100%.
that
Mhm.
impact that as well. So it's not just the annual cycles of like when the buyers come out to buy and all that, right?
Right.
But it's also like what's going on. Like last year, the market impacted our normal annual cycle that you would have
Mhm.
because of what was going on in the general market cycle.
You say that, and it did. And within that, we still had 20% in the first, 20% in the fourth,
Mhm.
and then
Right.
60 in the middle. And it was the volume went down, but it
Mhm.
still followed the same life cycle.
Mhm.
And again, in from a business standpoint, when you go like next year or 2 years from now, whenever it gets back to another level where we're rock and rolling again, to know that you're gonna have the beginning of the end of the year be slow. Make sure you're budgeting and you're spending your money the right way, so you
Right.
don't overextend yourself at in the end of September, when you know October, November, and December are going to be slow, and it's going to pull into the beginning of the year. You play into that system, but knowing that and knowing how to balance your energy levels
Yeah.
Yep.
and your finances according to that plan is huge in the real estate, where you have to be able to
Well,
understand
no, and
that.
that's smart, right? So it's this idea. So one of the old school guys, he had a saying. He said, don't eat your seed corn," and that's I had to ask him what that meant.
Working from Mississippi.
Well, something like that. But don't eat your seed corn. That's what you actually go and sow in for harvest time.
Mhm.
Don't eat what you have to go plant
Mm.
just because you're hungry now and that's all you have. Well, if you don't go and plant it, then you won't reap. In
Mhm.
our business, if we're not out there doing XYZ, we're not going to get the production at, later on down the calendar year,
100%.
right? And so there's a level, it's knowing when to make hay. It's when to go, go and put in the effort. And I think that's huge. We're really a huge thing on my end is something we call peace and freedom, where when I make a decision is this going to take away from my peace and freedom? Really big time commitments, like even just gearing up to do all these interviews, I had to ask the big question, is this going to add to or take away from my freedom? And because a lot of times you get people who are just yes people and they run ragged, chickens with their heads cut off,
Right.
right? But at the end of the day, it's also knowing that there is a level of this balance. What are you ultimately trying to achieve, right? That going back to that legacy question, what are we ultimately trying to achieve? And so I have a vision board at home that the middle of the vision board has a quote. And I heard someone say it a long time ago, a version of it, and it stuck with me. And it was when I was in a season where I had to define success for myself, because we see many different versions of success all around us. And you're like, do I relate to this? Is that what I want? It's not one size fit all. But ultimately, I had to define success for myself. And what I came up with, and it was influenced by some other folks, where it said, success is when I get to spend more time with my family than I do my cell phone or my team.
Love that.
Because for me, it is very much the opposite. But what am I working towards?
Mhm.
But here's the thing is my family knows we're in a hustle season. We're in that season where right now the trade-off is you may not see me as much, but what are the practical things that we're doing to get the trade-off to where eventually it'll switch.
Mhm.
It doesn't come automatically.
And I think you hit it on talking about that communication level with your family. So I'll do that with my kids. Look, I need y'all for the next 20 minutes to just play quietly because I've got to do X, Y, and Z. But then after, I'm going to turn my phone off and we're going to go outside and we'll throw the football.
Yep.
Just having your mindset and involving your family in it. So they're not just thinking that you're on your phone mindlessly
Right.
scrolling through social media. You're doing something to better your family. And then after, I'm going to put it away.
She's
Or
making
have
another
fun.
stupid video for social media. Well, no, and that's huge because, well, I grew up where I had family members who they sacrificed a lot in the name of providing for us, but there was no communication of that. So then all we saw was the sacrifice we also had to make, right? Of the lack of presence and things like that. But it's very different when you have that conversation leadership of this is the vision and this is how we're all working together to get there. Because everyone wants the end results.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone wants, to be able to go on the family vacations, to live in the nice house, to do the various things, or to have mom have a lot of freedom, or dad have a lot of freedom to be able to do these things. But most don't understand the cost. And that cost is something that everyone has to buy into, that everyone has to agree. At least that's what I found.
Having that open communication with your children, even from a very young age,
Mhm.
like our oldest is 5.5 now. And when she was a baby, when my husband would leave for work, because he'd go out of town a lot, every time I'd say, okay, tell daddy, thank you for going to work. So it's like setting that expectation for them. And then while he's gone, if they would get sad or if I have to do work and they're sad, I'm like, well, why does mommy work? And they're like, so we can buy ice cream, or so we can buy a toy, so we can go on vacation. Like teaching them why you're doing these things. And it's not like I want to be leaving you or daddy doesn't want to be leaving for work, but teaching them, again, the gratitude aspect and,
like that.
to have all these things in our house or to have the house in general, you have to work.
There's a trade-off.
And so that they learn as they get older, you have to do those things to make money.
So I don't have kids, but I have dogs. And when I leave and they're like,
You need to tell them.
and I tell them, this is how you get dog treats.
Yes. See?
Mom's going
It's
so
the
that
exact same.
or mom's going to go strike a deal so we can get a bigger yard for you.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
It all correlates.
It
Yep.
correlates.
Yeah.
It correlates.
So y'all are awesome. So before we wrap up, if somebody wants to get in touch with you guys, like what is y'all's geographical area where you do business and how do they get in touch with you to find you?
Geographical business, I like to say I do the triangle. So I do Covington, Mandeville, Slidell, but then also New Orleans. So I'm still all across the triangle. And to get in touch with me is the best way is Instagram, because you can direct message me and you can see all my information. It's at Corynne Lindemann _realtor.
And we'll drop that down below so everybody can see it.
Perfect. I am Northshore, South Shore, Mississippi, and into Baton Rouge.
Oh,
so licensed in Mississippi.
what part
Licensed
of
in Mississippi.
you just handle? Do you aim to just handle the southern part? Or?
We primarily are Covington, Mandeville area. I'd say that's 75% of our business, but we do have we have partnerships with Oshner where we get new recruits
So the
that come in
relocations.
and they might be needing to look in the Mississippi area, or we have clients in New Orleans that are looking for a second home in Mississippi. So it made sense for us to get a license there.
Very cool.
That's awesome. I work all those areas well.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got
Perfect.
portfolios in South Mississippi, Baton Rouge, the North Shore, and the South Shore. So that's cool. That's good to
Yeah.
know. So how can people?
And we close Mississippi too. Since you're plugging that, I'll plug that too. So good.
Yeah.
So talk to me about what's the best way for folks. So because those are a lot of different areas, what's the best way for folks to get in touch with you?
Probably our website or Instagram. Instagram is at Molly and Margot. And then website is mnmres.com.
Yeah, that's excellent.
Well,
We'll make sure to tag all that in the show
Perfect.
notes too for folks to find it easily.
for sure. Y'all are awesome. Thanks for coming
Thanks
on.
for
and
having
talking
us.
to
This was fun.
Yeah.
Yes, it's
Good.
great.
Appreciate it.
Yep.